Going back to Philly. So exciting. Good afternoon. So we're going to go to Philly, obviously, where the president and the vice president will participate in campaign events. And so the campaign is going to have more information for all of you on today's events. And so I'm going to have to refer you to them on what the day's events is, what's going to unfold today. But with that, I'm just going to go ahead and start taking questions. Go ahead.
So on the pier, it's this president, is he rethinking if this is still a good idea? It's become, it seems like a bit of a boondoggle. Why continue to spend good money after bad when it seems to have having very little impact on actually getting aid into Gaza?
Couple of things. I know NSC spoke to this yesterday. I know DOD also spoke to this yesterday. And so, as you know, it's going to be temporarily moved to the port of Ashdod. Let me just give you a couple of things to show what it's done while it was running. So to date, over 1,000 metric tons have been delivered from the pier to the marshaling area for onward delivery by humanitarian organizations into the hands of Gazans. 1,000 metric tons, that matters. We remain committed to working with the international community to get aid into Gaza as quickly as possible. That includes via land crossing. As you know, we've been working on that, and that has had some good effects in the sense of the president's diplomacy and having those conversations, and including Kerem Shalom, where aid continues to flow into Gaza. And so we'll provide obviously additional updates on this. But look, this is part of the president's commitment to make sure we're getting that important humanitarian aid into Gaza. We know how dire the situation there is for it's for Palestinian people. And so we're going to do everything by air, by land, by sea, obviously. And so that is our focus. And while the pier while it was functioning, obviously it did get some humanitarian aid. I don't have any more on the pier beyond that. I would refer you to Department of Defense, obviously.
How does the White House respond to Pope Francis' alleged use of a homophobic slur in a private meeting, and how does that affect his relationship with President Biden?
So look, I mean, I'll say this, which is, I can speak for the president. I can't speak obviously directly for the Pope. I know the Vatican in a statement said that the Pope apologized and said it was his attention. So it is for him to speak. What I can say about the POTUS is that he's been very clear that everyone, including LGBTQ plus persons, deserves dignity and should not be discriminated because of who they are, who they love. And that is something that you have heard from this president for some time now. And certainly he stands by that. And you see that in his policies. And so that's what I'll leave it there.
How much attention is the president paying to the Trump trial as they begin deliberations?
I have to be pretty honest with you. I've not talked to the president about that. This is going to be an important day. Obviously, the campaign is going to have more to share. The president, and I said this yesterday a couple of times when I was asked this question in various ways, that the president's focused on the American people, delivering for the American people. You'll hear him talk about some of that today. Again, the campaign will speak to that since a campaign event. That's his focus. I just have not. I've not focused. I'm not questioning.
Thank you. Do you think he'll make reference to it in his remarks today?
I think the president's going to be focused on the American people today.
Was the president aware in advance that his campaign was going to give a press conference at the courthouse yesterday?
That's for the campaign to speak to.
The president's awareness.
This is not a conversation. I don't talk about the campaign with the president, so I would refer you to the campaign.
I've spoken about how the justice system is functioning on its own and the president doesn't get involved. And yet when his campaign comes out in front of the courthouse and speaks, it cuts against that.
I mean, yesterday when I was asked about the question, I said, hey, I'm not going to talk about a political candidate. It's 2024, but I did talk about the importance of having a justice system that works for all, and just really talked about it more broadly and what this president has been able to do. And that's what I talked about. We announced our 200th nominee that has been able to get through, how diverse that is, and how it is really, truly important to have a justice system that represents America. And that's as far as I can go. You're asking me specifically the president's thought about what the campaign did. I just can't speak to them.
Does the White House have any plan to make a statement or do anything once the verdict actually happens?
Super mindful, not going to speak to it. 2024, this is an election period. I'm just not going to speak to it. I do not speak and will not speak on any ongoing cases, even in a hypothetical, speculative way. I'm just not going to speak to it.
Two questions, Karine. Your office is in charge of presidential interviews. President Biden has been president for about 3.5 years.
Good to know.
To the best of my knowledge, he has not given a single interview to a print newspaper reporter. I was wondering how you explain that.
That is look, he's given many interviews. I'm happy to share a list with you on folks he's interviewed, and I would say stay tuned. Stay tuned. It's been as you just stated and marked on the calendar. It's been 3.5 years. I'm sure you're not the only one tracking that, but I would say stay tuned. And the president is always happy to talk to the press. You've seen him sit down with many different mediums, platforms, because he wants to make sure his message gets directly to the American people. And I would say stay tuned.
Why is that EO, the border EO that the president's considering, why is that still playing? I ask specifically because yesterday Kirby mentioned the numbers are trending in the right direction. It seems you have a commitment even post-election in Mexico on this issue. Why is this necessary?
So look, the president's going to do everything that he can, right, to deal with what we've been seeing, a broken immigration system, right? I can't speak to the EO. What I can say is we look at all options, as we have done. We've taken actions over the past more than 2 years now. And as Stephen said, we've been in office for 3.5 years. And so we're always going to look at all of our options. I got to sit down. But what I will say is this is a system that has been broken for decades, right? Decades. And it's going to take continuously taking actions, going to take, honestly, legislative action to deal with a system that's been broken. I have to sit down.
How much prep work for the D-Day trip is he going to be doing in Rehoboth this weekend?
Look, D-Day is going to be an important moment. Obviously, the president is going to France to commemorate, I got to go. I don't have anything to share on his particular schedule of what that's going to look like, but obviously he's going to meet with his senior staff. He's going to meet with NSC. Okay. Thanks, guys.
See you soon. Yeah.